Your presenter is going to be presenting, it says on the program, our physical bodies as gateways to other realms. If you read on the website, Ervin is a holistic practitioner working with the energy systems of the body. He's a certified practitioner in touch for health, body management, body electronics. He also employs Jin Shindu acupressure, hypertension X-joint rejuvenation. How many of you know what that is? Ervin, I hope. Will you put your hand up? You do know what it is. Nutritional supplement counseling, well, I'm sure you, and other energy balancing techniques. Ervin will be sharing information on how our physical bodies are the vehicles to gain access to and resolution in our mental, emotional, and spiritual realms. This presentation will increase our understanding of techniques to promote personal vitality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Irvine Brietkreutz.
Hello, my name is Ervin, and some people call me a therapist. I consider myself an assistant. My role is just to assist the individuals to reconnect with the energy systems. Apparently we have more than 50 different energy systems in our body. We also have an intelligence inside our body that is far superior than any doctor or any medical system that's outside of ourselves. And it's interesting how our society and culture has a tendency to draw us out of that intelligence. It's almost like our owner's manual and our toolbox we're born with are kind of pushed in the corner, and there's no scientific proof on that, so just put it away. But the answers lie within there. And my job is to assist to reintroduce that to you again. Now, I started in this field after finishing my belt with architecture. It was 50 years old when I started this therapy full-time. I'd studied about a decade prior to that. But it seems kind of strange. I was just mentioning to somebody today that I was in my first chakra for the 8th time when I started this whole system. And to date, I'm in my 5th chakra, so here I am speaking about it, expressing it. Theme of the talk, our physical bodies as gateways to other realms. Now we have realms that are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Those are the ones I work with, those are the ones I understand. Now there may be others, there may be other techniques that other people use, but this is my experience, and I'll try to communicate it as best I can. The physical body is the final result of what happens within the other realms, the mental, emotional, spiritual. The mental is the thoughts, of course, the thoughts that we have about our experiences in life. The emotions are the feelings about those experiences, and the spiritual is the life force that drives through us, that deep inner feeling, the true selves that we're so frightened to present to the world. So we have a tendency to present a false self. And that false self is very damaging. Imagine yourself as being the bow of a ship. You're right up front, right at the bow of the ship. You are the bow of the ship. What's happened in the past, the memories from the past don't matter to you because it's happened, it's gone. You're too busy looking forward with great enthusiasm what's coming up. As Eckhart puts it, you're trying to live in the now. However, if 2 little items cut into your energy system, your thoughts, you start to recede. These 2 items are self-doubt, self-criticism. Nobody has that nowadays, do they? When those 2 things hit us, it's like we recede from that bow of that ship. That ship continues through in our life's experience, but we're no longer in control of that. We're no longer leading that thing. So what happens is our genetics, the experiences from our forefathers, their thought patterns, their belief systems, and that starts to kick in. Our programming from our upbringing starts to kick in, and we're no longer in control of that. And what happens is the physical then starts to suffer. It literally breaks down. I consider that the aging process. So we have various tools and protective systems within the body that can help us to regain that and to help us heal. We shouldn't be dependent on somebody outside other than just some pat on the back and some social assurance that yes, you're part of the human race, The rest we should be able to do ourselves. What also is created when the self-doubt, self-criticism cuts in is this misalignment, the imbalances and the blockages. Our biggest blockage for ourselves is this concept of trust or lack of trust. By that I mean we have difficulty trusting, well, the universe. It changes all the time. We have difficulty just trusting the earth. It's in big trouble. The government, they're asking us for their trust right now. I wonder why. And then the worst part is the lack of trust of self. So we're allowing ourselves to be baffled by bullshit with the computers and the idea of statistics to lead us through an understanding of how we should live our lives. And this is very disempowering. This lack of trust usually results in that self-doubt and self-criticism. Self-doubt is something like, I can't, I will never. As children, we're brought up in those realms. Our parents, well, let's face it, they probably didn't know any better, did the best they could with what they had. The self-doubt, or the self-criticism, sorry, is the, how could I be so stupid? When am I ever going to learn? So you're literally disempowering yourself. Fashion and the industries out there, they know this. Advertising hits you right in the midsection, like you're kicked in the gut. And that's where our power source is for our self-empowerment, is in our, what the Japanese call the hara point. Somewhere between the navel and the pubic bone. And the self-doubt shuts down this healing process. Now, we have tools within our body to help us with that. We're not aware of how powerful these things are. Matter of fact, one of the biggest tools that, or literally is the tool to help us get the energy for healing, is our reproductive organs. We're all trained to think that our reproductive organs are there to, well, create another vehicle for the spirit to come to earth in the form of a child. But that's minimal. That can't happen all the time because we get so drained essence-wise, we would die very quickly. What this device is, this organ is our divine healing tool. A divine creative tool. The way I see it works is that there are three aspects, what I call a triad. The way I see it works is that after conception, when the cell splits for the first time, many of these, what I would call 50 energy or more than 50 energy fields or systems cut in all of a sudden. Things like the acupuncture meridian system is clicked in with the governing vessel and the central vessel. The dantians are a connection with the heavens that have a location in the head area. The middle dantian, the upper one, the middle one that has a location in the chest area, which is our connection with our sense of humanness. The lower dantian, which is in the pelvic structure, which is in our connection with the earth. And we can have disturbances in those, disconnections in those. And this is another thing, I can't encourage or force situations to come to the surface of the body. Our experiences in life, quite often, from day to day, from second to second, form energy fields or layers around our physical body, just like layers of an onion. And a lot of these things are in the emotional realm, where we have an experience in life where we have, for whatever reason, we just can't let go of this particular, the memory of the situation. It's interesting how we have great difficulty remembering all the good things that happened in life, because quite often we experienced them, we enjoyed them, and we just let them go. But those things that people have said and done to us, boy, we remember the color of their eyes and everything. And this is exactly what causes the excess weight in the body. There's even something in the Christian scriptures to kind of give us an idea that maybe we should let go of things. And it has to do with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot and his wife, as they're escaping from Sodom and Gomorrah, as the Lord was going to destroy the cities of sin. And she turned for 1 second to take one last look. I guess it was fear of losing the memory of what had happened in the past. Well, she turned to a pillar of salt. That's what happens in our physical bodies, cell by cell. Every time we have a thought, and we experience it and look at it through the eyes of judgment, criticism, complaining, comparing, etc. Every one of our cells has the ability to calcify itself. We have, some people say, over 10 trillion cells. Bruno Schickli, who's a lymphatic therapist specialist from France, he says over 100 trillion cells. Well, both numbers are big to me, so it doesn't matter. But we have a great capacity to calcify. And I find that it's interesting how a lot of the older folks who are very set in their ways, very rigid in their thoughts, usually are very rigid in their bodies too. And if they let go of those thoughts, even if it's one little one, they become younger. Take a story of these two women, two young girls in high school. One kind of fell for the one, I guess the jock or the football team or something like that. Thought she was the apple of this gentleman's eye. But happens to see her friend, her best friend, talking to this gentleman and happened to kiss him for whatever reason. But misunderstood it and thought that she was trying to take her boyfriend away from her. So she swore she'd never talk to her again. And say 7 years go by, and they happen to meet in a restaurant somewhere, and the story is brought up, and the misunderstanding is brought to the surface. And it was a misunderstanding, and all of a sudden that resentment from all those years is released. How they would turn into kids, laugh and giggle, and become very flexible, just like young girls again. We see it many, many times. Our thoughts, I think it was at one of the, my first questers meeting I came to, we had, I believe it was Raymond Grace here. And he showed us a demonstration in front of the group how powerful our thoughts are. How it can travel from way beyond our bodies out into space or recede within ourselves. Self-doubt, self-criticism does exactly that. So, the desire to live and create. There's another aspect of our physical body. It's called the pineal gland. It's up in the head. It is our gland of enthusiasm. It has a responsibility of releasing what's called PSH, pituitary stimulating hormone. Now, most of us might know that pituitary gland is the so-called master gland. So in order for the master gland to get its source of nourishment, enthusiasm must be within a person's life. And that enthusiasm, or pineal gland, is stimulated by light, especially sunlight, and especially also by the light of enlightenment. And we have an energy system within our bodies called chakras. I don't know if many are familiar with that. Every 7 years, the major ones I'm talking about, the root chakra being at the base of the coccyx, and also the crown chakra, the seventh one being at our crown, which is, so every 7 years we have an opening, a special enlightenment, or a chance to have enlightenment with the divine, with the universal consciousness. And if you look at your own life, perhaps at 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, especially 49, which is kind of the pinnacle of it, because you've hit it 7 times 7. A lot of people change their lives then. Ironically, all kind of happened to me too. It's just kind of switched all of a sudden. Had an enlightening experience and knew exactly what it was. And this is, I don't regret leaving architecture at all. People say, how can you be so stupid with such a secure job? And it's not interesting anymore. This is really exciting. When we learn about the aspects of the body, we know so little about what we have within ourselves to heal ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to make these connections to the universe, etc., to enlighten. This is what I believe Questers is all about. Working with universal energies for the betterment of mankind. When this self-doubt, self-criticism cuts in, and our ability to heal ourselves is diminished somewhat, the body starts to break down. Take, for example, a person has a frustrating situation at work. Frustration apparently hits the gallbladder. Most people have some issues with gallbladder the older they get, as the frustration level goes higher. The gallbladder is actually supposed to help because it's a special kind of organ. It's an empty vessel that is supposed to hold and it's supposed to expand and contract when needed. It's supposed to be able to absorb our frustrations and help us to deal with it. But when we have too much in our life and we can't release those frustrations, the gallbladder becomes tight, and the bile that it stores, that is the cleansing byproduct of the lymphatic system that the liver produces and hands to the gallbladder to store, has some very important roles. One of them is when the stomach opens to release the food contents that it's partially digested, and these contain things like fats and oils, like salad dressings, etc., the bile encapsulates those, like seals them off, like in a plastic bag, so that they won't coat the small intestine till it gets to the lower portion of the small intestine, where hormone is released and cracks open that bond and starts to digest the fats. Another role, which I find is more important than that, is that when the bile is released, it stimulates what's called this peristaltic action of both intestines, large and small. That's the muscular action of the food moving through the intestines. So if frustration comes in, it slows you down digestively. And it slows down your digestive system, it slows down your ability to nourish yourself. You become constipated. And there's a changeover of constipation, and sometimes you have the other aspect of it. But there's another little tool that is affected by the frustration and the fact that the gallbladder goes tight. And it's the valve between the small and large intestine called the ileocecal valve. That becomes tight within itself and remains open, ever so slightly. The reason why this happens is as peristaltic action slows down and the water or hydration of the large intestine depends very strongly on the fluids coming through that valve from the small intestine to keep the large intestine properly lubricated and hydrated. If that valve didn't open up automatically because the whole system slowed down to constantly drip fluid in, we would become so constipated you have to take it out with a spoon. And this happens with a lot of the elderly folks in these senior homes that are taking these heavy medications. Their problem lies within the large intestine. Assist the body to release the constipation, they will switch just like that. Heart problems, breathing problems, everything will switch just like that. I've had years and years of experience with that with my own father.